I found it in the free section of Craigslist, a broken-down wooden dollhouse that just needed a little love. If only I knew the terror it would bring. It was an impressive Victorian-style miniature, complete with intricate details and furnishings. It was perfect for my daughter Lily. I picked it up from an old woman who seemed relieved to see it go. As I loaded it into my car, she whispered, "Beware of what happens when the lights go off." I chuckled, assuming it was an attempt to add an air of mystery. Back home, I fixed it up and presented it to Lily, who was delighted. That night, she insisted that the dollhouse be kept in her room. The first sign of something strange came that same night. I woke to Lily's terrified screams. I rushed to her room to find her hiding under the blankets, pointing towards the dollhouse. The little plastic family inside was no longer in the cheerful arrangement we'd left them in. They were now huddled together in the living room, their painted faces seeming to express fear. I calmed Lily, attributing the rearrangement to her forgetfulness. But each night, Lily's screams became a frightening routine, and each time the dolls were found in an even more chilling pose, facing the walls, lying on the floors, as if depicting scenes of terror. I decided to investigate and set up a camera in her room. That night, as I reviewed the footage, I saw it. At the stroke of midnight, the dollhouse lights flickered on. The dolls moved, their plastic limbs bending in ways they weren't designed to. They seemed scared, tormented. Then I saw her, a tiny figure, not much taller than the dolls. She was ghostly pale with hollow eyes and a cruel smile. She terrorized the dolls, flinging them around, her laughter a soundless yet deafening echo in the quiet room. Terrified, I took the dollhouse out of Lily's room. That night was the first one in weeks that was not broken by Lily's screams. But things didn't get better. The tiny ghostly girl from the dollhouse started appearing around our house, in mirrors, behind curtains, in dreams. I decided to return the dollhouse. But when I reached the old woman's address, the house was deserted, as if no one had lived there for years. The Craigslist ad was gone, the account deleted. The dollhouse now lies buried in our backyard. But we're still not at peace. At times we hear the silent laughter of the ghostly girl, her hollow eyes appearing in the dark corners of our house. In my desperation, I posted about the dollhouse on Craigslist, hoping someone brave or foolish would take it off our hands. But no one replied. No one except the old woman who'd given me the dollhouse. Her message had only one line: "Beware of what happens when the lights go off." We're prisoners in our home now, trapped with the vengeful spirit from the dollhouse. I dread the night, the darkness, the flickering lights, and the silent laughter. But most of all, I dread the moment my daughter whispers in fear, "Mommy, the girl from the dollhouse is back." Craigslist, a gateway to other people's trash or treasure, I used to joke. But after that one purchase, I'll never laugh again. The ad was simple: antique mirror, free to good home. The picture showed an ornate mirror, and it seemed perfect for my newly renovated living room. If only I knew what it would cost me. I drove to the provided address, an old dilapidated house that stood alone amidst a neighborhood of cookie-cutter homes. A man, old and haggard, was waiting for me. His hands trembled as he handed me the mirror. "Remember, it's not just a mirror, it's a gateway," he said cryptically. I shrugged it off as a marketing gimmick. I hung the mirror in my living room, admiring how it gave the room an antique charm. But as the evening drew closer, I noticed something strange. The mirror didn't reflect my living room. It showed a room, eerily similar to mine, but draped in shadows and dust. Night fell, and I sat down to watch TV. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement in the mirror. I turned and almost choked on my drink. There was a figure in the mirror in the shadowy room. It was a woman, her face hidden by her dark flowing hair. She seemed to be weeping. The sight was chilling, but I was more intrigued than scared. Was this a holographic trick? I moved closer to the mirror, reaching out to touch it. As my fingers brushed the cold glass, the woman in the mirror looked up. Her eyes were hollow sockets, her skin pale and decayed. She opened her mouth, letting out an inaudible scream. I stumbled back in terror, but it was too late. The room in the mirror started merging with my own. The walls darkened, and the air turned cold and stale. I could hear her sobs echoing around me, the despairing sound of a lost soul. I tried to leave, but the doors and windows were sealed. My cozy living room had become a cold, shadowy prison. The woman emerged from the mirror, her weeping figure a terrifying sight. She reached out, her touch icy and filled with sorrow. I could feel her pain, her loss, her eternal torment. She whispered into my ear, her voice like the rustling of dry leaves. "Forever trapped," she murmured, "like me." I woke up the next morning on my living room floor, the sunlight cutting through the windows. Everything was back to normal. The mirror showed my living room again, no sign of the shadowy room or the ghostly woman. Had it been a dream? I removed the mirror and drove back to the address where I'd picked it up. But the house was gone. In its place stood a small park, children playing on swings. There was no trace of the old, dilapidated house or the haggard man. The ad on Craigslist was gone too. No antique mirror, no free to good home. Just a void, a chilling reminder of the nightmare I'd lived. I wanted to dismiss it all as a dream, a product of an overworked mind. But the icy chill of her touch lingered, a silent testament of the horror I'd encountered. In my garage now lies the mirror, covered and untouched. Sometimes when the night is quiet, I can hear her, the soft sobbing of the ghostly woman, a whispering echo of her words. Forever trapped, like me. And in those moments I wonder, how many owners has this mirror had? How many people have been touched by her icy despair? How many more will? Because on Craigslist everything can find a new home, even the most terrifying of nightmares. An ad on Craigslist led me to a peculiar item, a leather-bound journal from the 19th century, advertised as "Haunted Reader Beware." As a scholar of the supernatural, I found it irresistible. Little did I know this was no ordinary journal. The journal belonged to a man named William, a sailor in the 1800s. His account started ordinarily, detailing his adventures at sea. However, as the pages turned, so did the tone of his entries. They spoke of a ghostly figure he'd seen aboard, a woman draped in white with eyes that glowed like moonlight. With every sighting, William grew more obsessed, his writing more erratic. Every night, I'd read a few entries before bed. Then I started having dreams, vivid and disturbing, as if I was on the ship with William, witnessing his descent into madness. But they were just dreams, until they weren't. One night, after a particularly disturbing dream, I woke up to a cold breeze. I saw her, the spectral woman from William's account, standing at the foot of my bed, her eyes glowing eerily. The days blurred into nights. My dreams were now full of visions of her, standing on the deck of the ship, in the dark corners of my room, in the reflection of my mirror. Her whispers filled my head, a haunting melody that echoed William's descent into madness. I decided to rid myself of the journal. I drove to a nearby lake, the leather-bound curse in my hand. As I hurled it into the murky water, I felt a chill run down my spine. I turned around, and there she was, the ghostly figure, her glowing eyes boring into me. When I tried to escape, I realized I was no longer standing by the lake. I was on a ship, the same ship from William's account in my dreams. The air smelled of salt and fear, and I could hear the creaking of the ship, the crashing of the waves. Days turned into nights and back into days. I was trapped in the journal's curse, living William's nightmare. The spectral woman was always there, her haunting whispers my only company. One day I woke up in my own bed, the sound of traffic replacing the crashing waves. It was over, or so I thought. I tried to return to my normal life, but she followed me. I can see her in the corner of my eye, always watching, always whispering. I searched for the journal on Craigslist, hoping to warn others or find a solution. But the ad was gone, the account deleted. Now I live in fear of the night and its accompanying dreams. I can hear her whispers growing louder, feel her presence drawing closer. I fear I'm treading the same path as William, descending into madness. To whoever reads this, beware of old items with stories, especially those listed as haunted. You never know when the story becomes your own, when you'll be left haunted, just like the sailor named William and me.